As many of you are undoubtedly aware, yesterday was International Patriarchy Day. I know some of you are thinking, but that's every day if we exclude International Women's Day. I mean International Moan About the Patriarchy Day. And you are quite right. Every day is a celebration of men, which is why we should, when we talk about men's suicide rates being so high, we should look to blame it on toxic masculinity. It is one of the few times where the Women and Equalities Department in our government, the United Kingdom's that is, actually got it right with their tweet on the subject, although I still maintain the department should just be called Equalities, and stop pandering to people because of identity. Seek to make a more inclusive society without using thought-terminating cliches. To the men that celebrated International Men's Day, I hope you got the very best sandwiches. To those who held very serious discussion on the subject of men's issues, good. I hope as time goes by more happens and more people come and talk about it. Maybe one day people will take it more seriously, but who knows. Now the subject of today's video is another group that are remarkably delicate apparently. As a former student, I don't ever recall coming across people as delicate, supposedly, as the current crop of students. And I say this because, well, as we all know, jazz hands were a thing. Yup. Not wearing costumes in case they were racially insensitive because of cultural appropriation. That was another. Then we had, of course, a campus banning International Men's Day. And we've had others banning speakers from speaking on their campus because of the views they hold alone. Because we can't challenge the very ideas. We must simply silence them, which totally makes them go away. By the way, I'm thinking of bringing back the sarcasm side because yesterday someone seemed to miss the joke when I made a few jokes at the expense of Scotland. Apparently it's anti-Scotland rhetoric. Well, that's news to me. The current thing that is apparently bugging students, though, are capital letters, where university bosses have ordered lecturers to stop using capital letters when setting assignments because it might upset Snowflake students. There is something oddly satisfying when an article uses the word snowflake. Whether you agree with the sentiment or not, I think it's amusing to an extent. Now, I did a little digging on the writer of this article, and they've written many articles in the past, but none have come across this particular area of society. Some have been politics, others have been dementia medical related, and others sports. So at least I know it's not a Poe, I guess. Anyway, the memo sent out to staff at Leeds Trinity Journalism Department suggested that using uppercase letters may scare them into failure. Now, a small part of me gets it. We want our students to succeed, so we must make sure they are not put under any additional stress. But apparently, the caps lock function is a step too far? I personally don't quite get it. Clearly, I'm too old now, even at 32. I'm also somewhat skeptical that this is in fact true, but this does reference the Express, so I've gone through the hyperlink and searched through their thing because it didn't take me directly to the article. And so we're going to continue this with the Express. Staff at Leeds Trinity's School of Journalism have also been told to, quote, write in a helpful, warm tone, avoiding officious language and negative instructions. So we really are breeding a delicate class of students. Our future are delicate. I'm starting to understand more and more why people are simply told to get over it, get on with it, deal with it. If we raise an age of soft people who can't handle pressure, how are they going to handle pressure in the workplace unless all their jobs involve them being hugged 24/7? And even the huggers, if they're not able to meet their hugging quotas, need a hug person to hug them. I may sound a tad brash on this, but quite frankly, we should be able to handle pressure, not remove it, because there will always be pressure in the world. Can you imagine one of these people who has been raised to do jazz hands and not use capitals because it might upset someone running for office? There are very few occupations that exist where pressure does not. While at the same time I would have to recognise that there are some people that thrive on it, or enjoy their job so much that they don't notice the pressure. Since you are in a class of journalism, this does raise many questions about how you would handle being shouted down, how you would handle being given a snarky response, how you would handle having the microphone taken off you, how you would handle negativity from any article you may publish or any photos you take, and by extension any confrontation that may come about from your own work, your resume, whether it be something of intellectual honesty or something remarkably deceptive and politically biased, of course. Understandably, I have to raise these questions now because if you're going to go into the workforce as a journalist, you're fucked. Unless you're now going to tell me that people you may interview for TV or for your articles must now respect you, because apparently it is expected and demanded that a worm get respect from those they seek answers from. Some have blasted the move as more academic mollycoddling of the Snowflake generation, and enhancing student understanding, engagement and achievement, memo lists, does and don'ts, with do and don't among words frowned upon. I don't suppose it's because they question the apostrophe, even though it's in the right place. Course leaders say capitalizing a word could emphasize the difficulty or high-stake nature of the task. So, surely you would want to get the very best journalists representing you, so it would be right to assume that if they can handle that kind of pressure in an examination or coursework-related situation, then they could then handle it in the real world. The memo says, despite our best attempts to explain assessment tasks, any lack of clarity can generate anxiety, and even discourage students from attempting the assessment at all. Generally, avoid using capital letters for emphasis and the overuse of do, and especially don't. If these words bug students now, wait until they're in the real world, and somebody says to them, no, fuck off, do as I tell you, and cut yourself. I can imagine the response would be quite problematic. Now, I do want to know if Leeds Trinity School of Journalism had some kind of psychological evaluation that took place, or some kind of research that went into confirming this memo as being something of credibleness, having any validity. Let's try that, because I am a tad skeptical that they did, and this would further cement the belief that they are trying to create more very delicate students, which, considering the occupation, is highly pointless. The memo also says that staff must be explicit about any inexplicitness in their assignment briefs. Why? And it warns that when students are unsure of an assessment, they often talk to each other about any misconceptions or misunderstandings quickly spread throughout the group, usually aided and abetted by that dreaded criminal syndicate known as Facebook. I might actually be right about that. Cough cough, Cambridge Analytica, cough cough. This can lead to further confusion, and students may even then decide that the assessment is too difficult and not attempt it. Then clearly they are not cut out to succeed. Once a quitter, always a quitter. Would anyone want to hire someone who, at the first sign of difficulty, turn tail and leave? If they say yes, chances are it's McDonald's or Sports Direct. One staff member said they use capitals to emphasize the importance of a particular point so students do not miss it, which is good, because then they are helping the student learn, understand that they need to look for certain buzzwords, and by doing so, make them understand better, or if not, simply look for a solution faster by finding the buzzword. The lecturer said, "We have some excellent students, but it is a constant battle against a system that wants to treat them like little kids that can legally drink and fuck. We are not doing our students any favour with this kind of nonsense." And I totally agree with the lecturer. The university said the guidance was sharing, quotes, best practice from the latest teaching research, adding, "We take pride in supporting our students to be the very best they can be. Give them a cap and some Pokeballs and send them on their merry way then." Actually, you know what, don't do that. I can see them struggling to catch a Metapod. All in all, this is an absolute nonsense thing, and to the Leeds Trinity School College of Journalism or whatever, anyone that gets through your course will not amount to much in the real world, because there are very few areas of journalism where you will encounter super duper lovely people 24/7 who will like totes want to give you everything you want so you can report on it, quotes, fairly. Anyway, this all aside, I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.